nearly there, nearly there. Now, why did you not go into there? Come on. No, really. That's interesting. I guess that's doing its own new thing. All right, we're live, Beena Angel. A moment though. Good to go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Syl. Good morning, Grain, and whoever is going to watch it later on YouTube. Please feel free, and actually, I will ask you. So please leave a comment, or just show your presence there, because it's really encouraging for me that you guys are watching it later also. It is not about like, okay, oh, we are getting some views or something. We still never ever bothered about these things.
No.
But for me, it is a confirmation that yes, people see the value, and we have more people in our life who are sharing this value. This is so brilliant for me. This is so amazing. So if you are watching it there, just show your presence by any means, okay? And that will be very much highly appreciated from me, at least. Okay, today's topic, not just before, but a couple of hours before, when before this live today, still brings up the topic of daring, and that was really interesting. And he
very
really
powerful.
mentioned and explain and elucidate a lot of nuanced involved into daring, and why we are not into the mindset of daring is something when you are aware of the risks involved, of the danger, in other words, involved, but you still choose to do that. This is what daring is. It's not a foolishly, blindly just jumping into something, and you don't know what's involved in it. Then of course it's still we can deal with it, but that is a completely different thing. But daring is something I know what's involved. I'm still choosing to be part of it, or I'm still choosing to jumping in. This is what daring is. And I was thinking about that what actually makes us be daring, capital D daring. I personally, for me, when Syl was mentioning that, okay, every single day I choose to dare to be unprepared, unpracticed, coming on live and do this. Of course, it was not as comfortable as it is in the beginning, but it was that. It was, for me, by nature, you can say that I am a bit daring person, and I just love this. Like, you jump off the cliff and then you can grow your wings while you're falling. I love that. I'm truly really inspired by that, quote. But also, I feel that when we learn and when we know where to anchor our trust and what to anchor our trust in, then we can dare in any situation. And this way to anchor our trust, this thing, and on who to anchor our trust in, this understanding makes you daring. When I'm jumping in unprepared, not practice, no idea, without having any idea what I'm going to talk about today, what I'm going to say in just after 5 minutes, seconds, or 2 seconds even. It's just like, okay, I need to trust that I have this ability. So where I'm actually anchoring my trust. There are many factors where I actually anchor my trust. I trust first that whatever I have learned is enough for me to deal with situations like this. That is the first thing, the trust in my understanding, in my awareness right now. Of course, it is not complete. Of course, it is not finished, and it cannot ever be, but still I have enough and I'm keen to learn more. That is the
Yeah.
first thing where I anchor my trust. Second thing I trust my anchor in the universe.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
the universe
Oh,
ever disappoint us when we take first just a step, when we walk? Never.
ah,
Universe never disappoint us. When we take a
no.
step, we are in the air. And then we walk. And then we
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
We swim.
Yeah.
This is the trust in the universe that, okay, yes, universe is helping us, protecting us, providing us whatever is
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah.
That is the second trust. Third trust. And it's all about capital T trust. It's not just a blind trust. It's not like that.
Correct.
Okay, yes, I
Trust,
need to. I'm
trust
going to just
built on impeccability, in other words. Yeah.
exactly. And the third is I'm lucky in this regard that I have a company of the person who I actually trust in. That he is okay. I can say about him that he is impeccable in, at least in my understanding, most of the time. He is impeccable. And, or all the time he tried to be impeccable. Okay. It is just my cautious way of saying that.
Oh, I love it. It's very
And
appropriate. It's very
and
appropriate. Yes.
and so far my experience tells me and guides me that if I will make a fumble, if I will make something even okay, not so clear, which I do many times, which is not okay. I share things and they're not very clear for other people, but I do share it still because
Yeah.
gradually people are learning my language also. Even though I speak English, but it's still, we all have our own typical, specific, special language. And every my people around me, they are learning my language and I'm learning theirs also. So even even when I'm aware that I can make a mistake, I can fumble, I can do things, I can be a lot of things, which might not be. But the only thing I know that I will not be inappropriate, at least not willingly.
Exactly.
I can be completely um, wrong in my perception. I can be. I might have a completely different understanding of things. I might not have a precise vocabulary for that. I might not have fluency. I might not have finesse into my sharing and my trying to elucidate my ideas and my perceptions. But the only thing I know that I will not be deliberately inappropriate. And after that, whatever comes will be accepted. And this is where I anchor my trust in. That if I'm not willingly, deliberately inappropriate, everything else can be fixed, can be remedied, can be changed and adapted and accepted by everyone. This is where I put my trust in. And the person who is here, he will ask me questions. Okay, Beena, oh. If I will say something which doesn't make any sense, he will ask me. And he do. He always asks me, okay,
Always.
Beena, what do you mean by this? Okay, so please explain it more. Okay, say it in another way. This is what I have learned from him. If
Yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
not getting a clarity in my perception, what I'm sharing, then he asks me, okay, say it in another way. Okay, please
Yeah.
explain it more. And of course, sometimes when we are sharing it and resharing it, we understand that, oh, this is where I was making a confusion. I was creating a confusion. My choice of words, my vocabulary was creating a confusion. Or maybe this is where I was not clear. Okay, so now I'm getting more clarity. It's a
Yeah.
it's a completely, when you have trust, capital T trust, you cannot have ego. It's a very interesting aspect of it.
Yes.
When we have capital
Yes.
T trust, we cannot have ego because our
Yeah.
trust is open. It's always open. It is always open. Okay, yes, I
Yeah.
know what I'm sharing. Okay, my intent is clear. I know my intent is good. and I know what I'm trying to say, but still I can be wrong, of course. So what? I will discuss. I will learn more.
Exactly. Exactly.
When we have capital D
Exactly.
drive, we cannot have ego, but
Exactly.
at the same time, we can be super daring, capital D driven.
Yes. Yes. And I love this. Daring for me, it's it's a capital D daring that I'm talking about. It's added to my dictionary of power. Uh, it's in my, it's a dictionary of power term, which means that there's some moreness to it, and we need to pay attention to that moreness, right? And in this case, daring is the consequence or the application of confidence. Yes, because
Mm,
I can be confident, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be daring. I'm confident about doing something that I know how to do. Well, I go and make coffee. I can make coffee confidently. So what? Does it, was I not going to make the coffee? Does my confidence make any difference to the actual action? No, I want to make the coffee whether I'm confident or not, right? I'm going to make it either way. It doesn't change anything. However, I can feel confident in myself, but then when I need to be daring, no, I don't want to do it.
mm,
Well, so much for your confidence. Yeah, but this and that, See, now, daring is not being foolish, obviously. Yes. Now, some might think that, some kind of daringness is foolishness, but no, that's the difference. Foolishness is daring that you are not being sensible about. But when you are being sensible, yes, there is risk involved, but it's risk that you are willing to accept. Yes. If you're not, then you don't do it because then it's just foolish. Now, when we are talking about daring, there's many instances. I've done many things which others would say, "Wow, that was courageous or daring." At the time, I didn't feel like I was being daring. It was like, duh, it was an easy decision. Like when we ended up in the desert, right? Well, you probably heard the story many times from me, but when we got there was nothing there. It was very desolate. And the movers, these two guys were very anomalous movers. Every time they unloaded something, they said, "Are you sure you want to stay here?" Or you must have asked me 100 times, right? Us, at least. They said, every time was no, definitely yes. There was no question to stay there. It was desolate and barren, and it's just hard to describe just how forlorn the place was. That's the nice word for it, forlorn, beside desolate.
mhm.
Like I mean, those two movers, nobody in their right minds would choose to stay there, right? This is just like beyond preposterous to them. That's why they
Agree.
asked every time they unloaded something, "Are you sure? We'll put it all back. We don't mind. We'll take you back for free." It was above and beyond their questioning of this. Every time it was the same answer. Why? Because I knew I was there because of the universe. And I knew going back was to give up my future life. It would be giving up what I really, really wanted, what was moreness, what was important, what was precious to me. Am I willing to do whatever it takes to get that? Yes, I am. Uh, Even if it's being in that desert, in that forlorn place where it turned out there was no electricity, no water, no phone, no sewerage, no nothing, right? Doesn't matter. I had a blast. It was wonderful because it came from attunement. So I didn't feel daring there because the opposite was true. There was risk in going back, even though no actual risk, but the risk to my soul, to my spirit. This was profound. It was just not a possibility. So when it comes to moreness and we're doing an attunement, we do things which from an external point of view can be regarded as daring or courageous or even foolhardy. But at the time when you're inside it, no. Right. So when you're acting with attunement, yes, you do have to have some daring, but it's not. You don't feel like it's an issue to be daring. It's no big deal to be daring. It's very easy to be daring. But there are other times when, especially when it's something for some personal petty reason. I was telling Beena a story about how I I took a big chance in order to not have to shave while I was in the army. It's a long story. I don't want to go over the whole story. But that I felt very daring there because I'm undertaking some definite risk here. Yeah, I could get into serious trouble for doing what I did. Um, but it's for purely personal reason. I just don't like wasting my time shaving every day. It's like time is too precious. I spend how many minutes doing this? No, come on, time is really precious to me. Literally, I live by the second. It's hard to describe, but since I'm age 11, time is very precious to me. It's a big deal. So I always make sure not to waste any time. Um, but there I felt daring. Now, where else does daring come into things? Yes, mostly when we look at this issue of daring, we are saying, all right, I want to do something, or I'm not doing something. Why? Most of the time, we aren't daring because there's the actual risk involved is a risk to our ego and our ego alone. Yeah. Okay. Well, somebody says, "Do you want to go and give a speech, on
Mm.
national television?" Oh my God, no. Oh no. So what if I do this and I mess up? So what? I look like an idiot. So what? That's just ego. See? Or what? Yeah. I mean, all right, there might be a real consequence. It may affect your business. And, if you really make a big fool of yourself and your business is dependent on your image and stuff like that, fine. It actually may have a real consequence. But nonetheless, it's usually, I'll just give you an example here. We aren't daring because the consequence is one that purely affects our ego and our ego alone. Right? So we have to be very careful to understand this, right? Say, I'm not being daring. Why? For no good reason other than I feel that I can't really do something and I'm going to make an idiot of myself. Is that really true? No, it's not. Can you do this? Yes, you can. What does it require? A little bit of gumption, usually. Now, we need some gumption to go with our daring, right? So gumption also another very important uh, uh, ca- a capital term, right? A dictionary of power term, gumption. And the universe tends to like gumption and daring. It will favor gumption and daring, right? The two kind of go together. So gumption is like when you take on something and you stepping over the boundaries of your usual, you're stepping up, you're stepping outside of your box, and you're doing a little bit more, right? It's not necessarily daring because gumption doesn't necessarily take a chance, but you're just doing something that nobody else really thought to do. You're stepping outside of convention, right? And these two are very important qualities because they enable us to do what we otherwise don't do or don't even think of doing. And why? For no good reason whatsoever. That's the point I want to make. Once we start to be a little bit daring, and this is part of capital P practice, all works together, right? Capital P practice is to say, I'm going to do something that I'm bad at. This is the point of practice, right? You're doing something that you are, all right, you may be okay at it or even really good at it, but I want to get better. But when you're already good at something like Yo-Yo Ma, he still practices every day, right? The famous cellist, right? I mean, he's the top in his field, but he still practices, I don't know, like a whole bunch of hours every day, right? Because he likes to improve, he likes to get better, and it's a joy. But where practice really makes an issue is when it comes to learning and practicing something new. Yeah. Now, when we understand capital P practice and we say, I'm going to do something that I don't know how to do, right? So I've got to be a bit daring and I've got to have a bit of gumption and I've got to take a bit of a chance. But when it's usually, this is a purely private matter, only you are going to know, which is absolutely fascinating to me, that people can't do things that are going to make them feel stupid or look stupid, even when nobody sees this, just to themselves, right? So they can't be incompetent for everything. They don't want to do something that's going to demonstrate a bit of incompetency. And so they don't actually do it, which is incredible to me, right? It's only you, for heaven's sake. You know, I can understand you worried about other people, but only you. This is beyond ridiculous to me. Nonetheless, it puts people off. But here's what they don't realize. They don't realize that foolishness, that awkwardness, that silliness feeling, that not knowing feeling, that uncomfortableness, it's very, very, very temporary. Right? The moment you start doing the thing that you have no clue to do, the moment you actually start doing it, not in your head, not imagining doing it, not thinking about thinking doing it, no, actually doing it. You say, oh, okay. And then you do a bit, and all right. And you carry on a little bit more. Oh, okay, well, that's not so bad. And literally a few seconds typically later, oh, well, that's not so bad as what I thought it was. Actually, this is no problem. And very quickly, because it's exponential, right? The moment your body starts to realize what's involved and you actually start doing it, those fears, which are just ideas, they go away, and they go away very, very quickly, right? And this is the point that we want to get at, to realize that what puts us off doing is just idea, not reality. Yes. So if we practice in the capital P practice way, which means that I have no clue what the hell I'm doing and I start doing anyway, and I learn on the job. And the more I do this, I realize, fine, I start off awkward. I have to just get through that awkward, uncomfortable feeling. And I know from past experience, if I persist, it's going to go away, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to do. No problem. Once I've done this enough times, I have the confidence to know that I'm going to get through that awkward phase. I just have to endure it for a few seconds that it's there, or however long. I know this. Now, once I've done that many times, I can be daring. Why? Because likewise, I know that, you know what, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to learn. I'm going to adjust. I'm going to get inspiration. I'm going to get assistance, whatever. Right? I have confidence in my ability to do. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that if I need to prepare, that I don't prepare. Of course, that's part of impeccability. But I'm talking about things where you can't, right? You have to just try it. You have to actually just do it, because your preparation is time to do. Like, you've read all the manuals, you read all this, whatever. Yeah, you've done all, you've gone to the courses, you've prepared for, let's say, public speaking. At some point, you're going to have to actually speak in public. There's always that first, right? But this is where our daring and gumption and all of this comes to play from capital P practice, right? But once I have this ability to be daring, and I'm comfortable being daring, it changes our entire life. Why? Because it connects to peace of being. So this daring is a deep, deep, deep topic, right? So yes, it's valuable for doing things that you couldn't otherwise do, but it applies when you are just sitting around at home, safe in your home. So how does daring come into that? You're not doing anything. You're not even going outside. You're just sitting there in your home. You might as well be locked up in your home. Yes. Where does anxiety comes from, and stress? It comes from the inner feeling, awareness, understanding, belief that if trouble comes of some kind,
Sorry. Yes.
what happened?
No, it was a background video I started playing. So yes.
Okay. Anxiety and stress comes from the perception that should negative occurrences occur, that we would be unable to deal with them. Correct?
Yes.
If I go deliberately into situations, which is what daring is, that I know that if I go into this situation, am I back?
Yes, you are.
All right, brilliant. All right, where was I last been? My computer crashed, so I switched to the phone.
Yes.
Beena?
Yes, you were saying that, okay, when we do this, the daring in our daily life, when we are sitting in our
Ah,
home.
right. So we're not actually doing anything daring. I'm not saying we are doing daringness. I'm saying how does the ability to be daring, the proven ability to be daring, right? And the internal conception to say I'm a daring person. Why? Because I've proven that I can be daring. How does this make a difference to my daily peace of being? Because when I'm sitting here in my house, I'm all locked up, I'm all cozy, I'm all safe and secure. I'm never 100% safe and secure, right? We know this. So people
Yes.
stress and worry. Why? Because in their mind, they think about things that could happen that are negative. Anxiety and stress comes from when they don't have the ability to figure out what they're going to do about those negative situations. This is what stress and anxiety is. Perception of potential negative, and the stress and anxiety comes. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a hassle because I can't do anything about it. Okay, but if I'm daring, I'm saying, wow, never mind. If it comes, well, I'll just deal with it, whatever. Because I have that ability to go into and take care of and deal with things and do in situations where I don't actually know. Yes. When I don't have previous skills or previous experience, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I'm daring. I can take chances. I can take risks. I can do. I can learn on the job, right? I can implement. I can innovate. I can be
Yes.
imaginative, etc., etc., etc. I can connect to the universe, and I can get assistance from the universe after obviously. You can't be asking for the universe to just bail you out because you're lazy. No, no. If I've been impeccable, which means I've been thorough, I've been diligent, I've been scrupulous, I've been conscientious, I've done my research, I've thought things through to the end, I've perspective shifted to multiple perspectives. When I do all those things, which things I know how to do, and I've practiced doing, this is part of way of impeccability, right? And I do it on a regular basis. Then also I can be daring because I know not only can I do all of those things, I've got very real competency skills. I also then can have trust, capital T, trust in the universe. Yes. And therefore, when taking on, and it's appropriate that I do so, I'm not being foolish. My sobriety has been exercised, and it's right and good what I'm doing. Then I know that I can always rely on the universe to have my back because I'm living in attunement. Yes, when you live in attunement, well, then you're in tune with what the universe is doing and saying. Yes. So there's a big deal to this. But nonetheless, the point I'm making is that developing the ability to be daring, yes, and having it proven to yourself. This is not something you can say, oh, I'm going to be daring from now on. You've got to go and actually be daring, yes, and demonstrate that daring is something that you are capable of and that you actually enjoy as well, right? Important to have that as part of it too.
Yes. Yes.
It's going to translate into peace of being because you aren't going to be so stressed, or at least even in the back of your mind, your inner bureaucrats, or some part of some aspect of yourself, that worry part. Saying, don't worry, look, we've done all these things. Look, every time we were daring, did we take a risk? Did we deal with an unknown? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Okay, so if this stuff happens, likewise. I don't know how I'm going to deal with it, but when I was daring, I had no idea either. That's what made it daring, is that I had no idea of how I would deal with it. Yes, right? So this is a way to reduce stress and anxiety, is to develop the ability to be daring, because you are telling your inner self, hey, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to dare. I'm going to dare to do it. See? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh. So it's a big deal, right? Very big deal to be daring. It like I said,
That's
when
a
you
big
think
deal.
it through and you look at the consequences and the implications of developing the ability to be daring. Now, the ability, you can only have the ability to be daring once you've actually done it and practiced it, right? You can't have an ability without practice. I mean, technically, I suppose you could be born with an ability to sing, but I mean, an acquired ability is one that you've acquired, right? It's a skill. Let's call it a skill then. It's called daring a skill, because a skill you learn and train and practice, right? Once you have the skill of being daring, it translates into peace of being, because you say, well, you know, I'll just be able to deal with it. It's not a problem.
Yes.
Isn't that cool?
Yes, absolutely.
It's very, very, very important. Take care of this real quick. There we go. Done. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Trying to get back to this is rebooted, so trying to get back to everything. What do you think, Beena? Does that make sense? The connection between peace of being and daring? Yes. Beena, where did you go? Beena?
Yes. Yes.
I'm saying, there's this connection between peace of being
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely. Because that is what I was uh, feeling and sending, but I was connecting it to the ego, that if you have capital T trust, you cannot have ego, because your trust, you cannot dare if you don't have a piece of being, exactly as you said.
Yeah.
And of course, your piece of being will not come if you have
Well, you can.
ego,
I
inappropriate
wasn't.
ego. If you have inappropriate ego, then you cannot
No.
have this daring, capital D
Right,
daring.
right. That, yes. But I mean, we can dare without peace of being. That is possible, right? But I was saying that if we develop the ability to dare, it adds to our peace of being when we're not being daring, because of the consequences and the implications. Sorry, so it's kind of in reverse a little bit there, to be clear.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing that you wouldn't think that daring would, the ability to be daring for an anxious and stressful person, worry pot, they would say, this is making my anxiety and stress worse, not better. But if you think about it a bit, all right, just go and practice, do a few daring things. And then you're going to realize, wow, actually, you know, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And that's anxiety and worry right there. And when we realize this, that's it. And also, we start to say that when you are daring, we're looking very carefully at consequences. Yes. So I am willing to accept the consequence if my daring doesn't work. Yeah. Which doesn't mean that I'm okay with it and it's easy. It might be unpleasant, might not be fun, but I'm willing to take it. All right, that's the price I'm prepared to take this chance, right? If I'm not prepared to pay that price, the consequence, then I mustn't do it. Yes, unless I have to, right? But then it's not daring. Then it's a whole different thing. Then I'm being forced to do it. That's a different situation. But daring says, okay, if it turns out it doesn't go my way, fine. So what? And like, for instance, if I go and do my speech and it turns out that I bomb, all right, am I prepared to accept looking the fool? Yeah, I don't care. It's not a problem. You know, I'll live with that. So what? Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. It's not a so what. I mean, it's a consequence. I might not like it. I might not enjoy it, but I'm still, okay, you know, it is what it is. I'll suffer it. I'll endure it, right? That's important. It's important that we are willing to suffer and endure and whatever the negative consequence of our daring. Otherwise, don't do it. Yes, that's it. For me, if I'm not willing to actually, the worst comes to the worst, I'll say, all right, I'll have to just endure it then, and I'm willing to do that. Fine. If I'm not, then I don't take that chance. Never, never, ever, ever. Don't ever take a chance you're not willing to suffer the consequence of, unless you absolutely have to. It's a different matter, right? Now it's, if you really, really have to, this is a different point. It's an absolutely, completely different point. Yes, a whole different logic to the calculation that goes into things when you have to or you don't have to. So daring here, we're talking about volitional, optional things, not have to. Yes,
Yeah.
you can still be daring when you have to, but it's a different kind. Like I said, when in that desert, was I really being daring? I didn't feel like it. No. From an external position, yes, but internally, emotionally, no. Right? And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you feel, oh, I'm taking a risk here. I don't need to take this risk. This is daring. It's an unnecessary risk, right? But it's for some kind of personal benefit. This is really cool. This is a very good way. And mostly we tend to feel daring when we don't need to. Yes. Like for instance, with public speaking. Yes. Or even coming on Zoom. Like some people don't want to come and join me on Zoom here. There's a bunch of them in the lives because, yeah, but we public and all this. So what? It's just your ego that says, what difference does this make to anything, right? There's no real risk. There's no actual risk except your ego risk. And the fact that you are worried about it actually makes it, the worry and anxiety makes you less able to be comfortable. And now you're actually sort of making the very thing that you're afraid of, you're making it true. But, to be afraid of these types of things, this is just learned behavior. This is what we get from BMN culture. A narcissist is the one who's afraid of looking bad. This is their worst fear, to look bad, right? And so what? You look bad anyway because you're a narcissist. But you're worried about looking bad. Anybody who sees you being a narcissist, it's like, man, oh, geez, how terrible. They live in this bubble of delusion. It's fascinating, right? So I'm just saying that we have to be really understand this point of daring. That the more you practice daring, the less you are actually going to be feeling like you are daring. You're going to be doing things like, all right, when you started with the lives, right? And you come and you're unprepared and you're just speaking off the cuff, right? That was daring in the beginning, right? It was a very specific deliberateness. But now you don't think twice about it. It's like, yeah, so what? If anybody else asked you to come on their show and they said, Beena, our guest didn't pitch up today. Can you fill in today? Yeah, sure. When you want me to come? Well, right now. Okay. You can do it. You can do it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And would you feel daring? No, because you've already done it so many times that you have the confidence that you can do it, correct?
Yes.
So you're not going to be feeling daring. And this is my point. When we actually practice being daring, especially when it's with ego issues, we realize that we didn't need to be daring in the first place. But this is the marvelousness of this capital D daring, that it is a thing in the beginning, right? Okay, that we are going to be doing in the beginning that's going to lead to an end where we actually don't need to do it, which is profound because we're going to change in the process of doing it. Yes, we're always going to retain that skill of being daring, like in new situations. But after a while, I'm not going to quite feel as trepidatious, as concerned. I'm going to have more trust in myself. I'm going to build my confidence via being daring, correct? And as once I have proven to myself that I am a daring person, my confidence now is validated and says, wow, you really are. Yes. And now it's not a confidence that, oh, I want to be confident and I feel confident, but I'm not actually really got something to back that up. Our confidence needs to be founded on realness. Yes. This is very important. Otherwise, you're just foolhardy. Yeah. So the more we practice daring, the less we're going to feel daring. Why? Because we're going to replace daring with confidence. And more important, we are going to replace both daring and confidence with competence. And competence is the most potent confidence. Correct?
Yes.
In other words, if I'm the competence that I wish to develop is the competence of being able to go into new situations without necessarily having defined skills in that. But that's life in general. We don't get to prepare for everything. So we need to have confidence in our competence that we can adjust and adapt and be appropriate in the moment. Which means that we have all of our skills, thinking it through, perspective shifting, power pause, etc., etc. All those skills, plus the skill of attunement. Yes, I have to bring attunement into this. It's a very, very important part of this. Yes, very, very important part. And that competence, the competence of being impeccable, in other words, which is all the skills of being thorough and disciplined and thinking things through to the end, etc., on mood shifting, energy management, all of the stuff, right? It's a whole bunch of skills. We have way-of-impeccability skills, and in attunement is part of way-of-impeccability too, but I'll add it as a separate skill here, attunement. We bring that into it, man. Now life is easy, and now I don't stress, I don't worry. Why? Because whatever happens, I'll just deal with it. And I look forward to it. See, that's the other part of daring. When we set our self-image, this is a big part of this whole session on our self-conception. If we conceive of ourselves as a daring person, I now open up the world. Yes, because that's what daring is. It means I dare to go where others don't. Yes. I'm able to do what is generally not doable.
Yes.
So my world has become larger. Yes.
Yes.
See, daring changes everything. Why don't we do most of the stuff? Simply because we're not daring. And when you say, what's the actual real reason? There's no real good reason for it, right? Like some people who don't want to come on Zoom because it's public. There's no real good reason for it. Just vanity or ego or whatever, insecurity, whatever. It's not a good reason. May feel good to you internally. I understand. I'm not negating and saying you stuff. But when you look at it from a bigger picture, objective point of view, if others can do it, then why can't I? See, that kind of a logic. But even if others aren't doing it, doesn't mean I can't do it either. I can be an exception. Yes. So daring, right? This is a big deal. It's a very big deal. Yes. And when we look at people who live lives that they enjoy what they're doing, yes, that they daring is, or at least people who, I don't want to use the word success, because success is such a corrupted term. It's almost like a dirty word by now, because success is so related to BMN ambitions. Oh, okay. Hello, Norma. Hello. I didn't see any comment, but I'm also not looking too carefully because I've got a lot of things going on. Sorry, Norma, if I missed you. Let me go back here. If I missed your comment, I had to reboot right as I started, so all my stuff is a bit messed up here, so I'm still trying to recover from that. So if I didn't see your comment, I'm sorry, Norma. Hello. Hope you're still here. There's Norma. She says, with the universe, you can ask for clearness and knowing. The universe isn't bothered. It is glad to help you, but you have to ask. Exactly. You have to dare to ask. Yes. You have to dare to ask. Yeah.
There, are you there?
Sorry. Yeah, I just had to make a comment. So this is important, right? This ability to be daring, and not only to be daring and have the ability, the trained ability, but to conceive of yourself as a daring person, which means that I can step into the exceptional. Yeah. And look at anybody whose life you wish to emulate to some degree. Obviously, you don't want to entirely, because then you're living their lives, not yours. But when, all right, let's say a musician, an artist, or an actor, a politician, whatever, right? And you look at their life and where they are, you're going to see that at some point daring was involved. They stepped up, they stepped outside the boundaries, they did more. Yes, right? Daring, in other words. Yeah. So if you want to get what you really want,
Yes.
typically, not always, not necessarily, but typically it involves daring of some kind. Yes. Well, take
Yes.
for instance, just take for instance in a very simple way. Let's take this this ability, this competence, right? Of daring, and let's start to bring it to the everyday. I've used examples that yeah, but you know what? I don't care about public speaking, blah blah. You know, this is not part of my life. You care about relationships? Oh yes, this is a big deal for most people, right? Very few people are not interested in being in a relationship. They exist, and it is there, right? It's very it happens. I mean, it's possible, and it's not for a negative reason. It's just that's well, I don't want to be in a relationship. That's it. I'm very happy on my own. Okay, fine, right? But for most people, relationships are very important. Now, how do you get into a relationship? Daring. Yes,
Maximum
Beena?
risk. Yes. Yes.
Right, right. But what's the actual risk? The actual, from a big picture, from a universal point of view, it's like saying, seriously, dude, you really want this, but you're so afraid of looking foolish that you're willing to give up the rest of your life's happiness for doing foolish. If you don't take that risk, you're going to get, for sure, get what you don't want. If you take the risk and it fails, so what? At least you tried. Yeah, I never understood this, that people wouldn't take this bit of risk, and they spend their lives. I've seen it happen, right? They don't get into relationships because they don't ever want to take that risk of looking stupid and failing and being rejected and whatever. It's preposterous. So that you end up with a negative because you're afraid of doing something that's going to have a negative. Ah, this is worse. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. But yet, this is my point, right? They're not willing to dare, and as a result, they get nothing. Yeah, misery. So it's a very important point, this, to develop daring. When it comes to relationships, it's crucial, right? And then when you realize that when you get used to taking risks, you know, at some point you get to be like, where's the big risk? You know, you see somebody you like them, you go, you chat to them, and say, wow, I really like you. I want to get to know you more. And then there's no daring involved after a while. You're just honest. You just say, I really like you. You know, I'd like to be in a relationship with you. Oh, okay. Off you go. It's not an issue. It's only an issue if daring is an issue. Once you have learned to be daring, you stop actually feeling like you're daring, right? That's the whole magic of daring. It's a sort of a self-curative process. The more you practice daring, the less you actually feel daring in most situations, right? Like in relationships. Yeah. I don't know, if I wanted to be in that type of a relationship today, you know, I'm not in a situation where this is an issue, but let's just say if I rewind, it would be non-issue. If I saw somebody want to be in a relationship, I'll just go and say, hey, I think you're wonderful. I'm really keen to get to know you more. And, you know, when I do know them a little bit more and I still feel this way, I say, wow, I'd love to be in a relationship with you. I'll just say it. There's no risk involved. I wouldn't even feel daring. I'm just being honest. I have no problem being honest, right? It's a non-issue, in other words, because I've developed the skill already. It's just a total non-issue. Where somebody else says, are you crazy? I could never do that. Why not? Why not? It's just belief. It's just belief. Our lives are so inhibited and constrained and limited by nonsense beliefs. A belief in that you think something is going to be terrible. Based on what? Based on what? No evidence for it whatsoever. Yeah. None. 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 Just amazing. Just amazing, right? So when we realize this, we realize that most of our fears are empty ideas. And this is what daring is going to prove to you. Most of your fears are empty ideas. Yeah. Very big deal. Very, very, very big deal. When we realize that, our lives change. Our lives change. Now, obviously, if I'm going to walk across a tightrope across a gorge, and I don't have practice or skill, and I've got to do this the first time, and I'm just doing it, why? For whatever reason, I said, well, because I want to practice being daring. That's a big chance that I'm going to be taking. No matter how much I practice being daring, that's a very real risk. I might be able to do it. It's possible. I don't know. But still, see, do I need to do it? Well, if there was a reason to do it, then attunement would be involved. But let's assume I'm just doing it just to prove to myself that I can. That's a serious risk that you're taking. Is it a risk that you're prepared to live with? Well, me, no. So I'm not going to do it. Yeah? There are times when there are risks involved that we aren't prepared to do, but we have to still take that risk, right? Where yes, there is a chance, but the chance is so small that it doesn't actually become realistic. It's only a risk if I'm going to be stupid, for instance. And I remember this with the corner of heaven story, right? You remember the corner of heaven story, Beena?
Yes.
Maybe I should read that story right now. You know what? Let me see if I can find it and put it up. That's actually not a bad idea. Let's do that. I know we've got capital R reading to do, but it's just a small bit at the end of the chapter there. So, but we can do that. So hold on. Let's read that story. Because here's now an instance of where daring was necessary. There was real risk involved, right? Now, was I prepared to live with the consequence of the risk? Not necessarily, because the risk was larger. Thank you, Beena. Brilliant. The risk was larger in terms of not taking the risk. The risk of not taking the risk was greater than the risk itself. Yeah? I'll explain in a moment. All right? So when it comes to being daring, we have to be very, very aware of exactly which risks we are risking. There's a risk to doing, and there's a risk of not doing. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yes.
Yeah. You'll see this in the story now. You're going to see this in a moment. Yeah. Okay. Let me just take care of one more thing here before we start reading. All right. Any comments before I read the story, Beena? Oh, sitting uncomfortably. Let me sit up straight. Sit up straight, Syl. Sit up straight. Scold myself. Any comments, Beena?
No, this is very interesting, and it's a good reminder. Of course, we all are aware, but still, it's a very good reminder that there is a risk involved in doing something, and there is a risk involved in not doing.
Exactly. There's a profound risk in not doing.
Yes.
Very often. Very deep, profound risk. This corner of heaven story was about that. And it's directly related to daring. Yeah, I just realized that now. It didn't come in my mind earlier, but it has. So I'm just waiting for the computer, yeah. Because it rebooted, so I have to get things loaded again. Norma, are you back? Are you back, Norma? Did you come back? She said she was here, but I don't know if she came back or not. I like it when you're here, Norma. I like it when you're here. I made a beautiful comment there. Very cool. Very cool indeed. All right, come on, computer, hurry up. Can be a bit tardy sometimes. Wow. No, very slow. What do you think about all this, Beena?
I think that when we talk about transformation, I know that because it's a big topic, at least since last few years, in my life, and of course I have seen all over internet, it's everybody talks about, "Well, I need a transformation, or I'm looking for a transformation, or I want to transform, or I am transforming." These type of things. Transformation is a big deal. And we all discuss about these things. We want a transformation, we want to transform, but we are reluctant to dare. And this is where this, of course, when we get a reluctant, a shy, or a diluted transformation, we get, because we are not daring to take some measures what are actually are needed for that.
Exactly.
And when you say that the capital D daring concept, and this is a very interesting topic, because you said that after some times you don't even feel that. It just becomes so innate to you. So then the daring is something, now something else will transform into something else. Because what you were doing before, now it's no more a daring. It will not be a daring anymore. Like in my case, yes. Okay, I didn't think like that exactly. But yes, in some way, me coming on live and sharing my thoughts was a bit daring. Now it is getting or becoming very innate, natural, not even a thought of or any association with daring anymore. Now, to practice daring, capital D daring, I need to go a bit more than what I'm doing. I need to do a bit more than what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Because that which was daring for me is now become part of me.
Exactly.
Of myself. So now to practice capital D daring, I need to do something more than that, or other than that. Not necessarily more than that, just other than that.
All right.
And it's a very huge deal for me to understand, because I was looking for some, not looking for, actually, I was reading some the skincare, natural skincare. And they were saying that, okay, this product or this herb, yes, they were saying some herb. This herb has same pH balance as your skin. So it directly absorbs into your skin, and it just become part of your skin. And now I know that it sounds a bit odd, but when you were saying that, okay, daring becomes part of you, and that, of course, this is what you were saying. I just reconfirming, or you can say that, okay, I was just saying it in my words again, as a repeat back. That daring, once something which is a deliberate act of daring, capital D daring, later on it becomes part of you. Now you need to practice daring, you need to do something else. Why? Because like that herb which has the same pH balance as pH level as our skin, daring is also, capital D daring is also same pH level virtually to human nature. And it absorbs completely.
Interesting.
And then it becomes part of you. And now if you need something, then you need to go and do something else. If we understand that, if we just accept and acknowledge that capital D daring is so much of our nature, it is part of our nature. This is who we truly are.
It has to be. Exactly.
then it will resolve all other issues.
Exactly. But we need to cultivate this, because we get taught and trained as children to undo our natural daring. It's part of our naturalness that play is everything. It's always daring involved. But we learn not to be, because we learn to be egotistical. We learn to be insecure. We learn to have all these things. Those are learned behaviors. They're not innate. All right. So this is the story here. The corner of heaven. You ready? Or do you have any more comments
Yes.
before I get going?
No. I was just
All right.
waiting and I was just filling in. So please continue.
All right. The corner of heaven. I'd like to share a personal story from when I was about 5 or 6 to illustrate a number of points which I believe to be most important. First, the story below is a true story, written via the immersion of the me of now into the me of then and the experience of then. This is the first key understanding. At the time, the experience was fundamentally transformative, a big deal then in terms of accomplishment in the many ways illustrated in the story. However, my me of then, while knowing the big dealness of the points articulated in this telling, came by them differently. I knew then, for instance, that backing down from a logical challenge, one well within my capabilities, one only governed by fear, was something I would not easily deal with or live down within myself. Giving in this way, even once, I felt would be enough to affect me. I knew this then, but would not have been able to explain it as clearly as I can now. The big deal is bringing the fullness of that understanding of then into the awareness of now. It's and of owning it. Oh, it's about, no, it's just, I don't know why this is fully written here. It's owning it, and an owning of ourselves, most powerful. And this is daring that they're talking about here, right? This doing it there. To edit this here, I don't know what that is there. Further, when recounting, I'm going to skip all this because now I was talking about memorable events, and this was about the point of memorable events. So I just want to focus on the daring part.
Yes.
So I'll skip all that, right? So we're just going to focus on this point of daring and keep this in mind, right?
Yes.
All right, the story, part of a longer story. One such place in particular was a most curious spot. On the side of my early childhood house, where the large tree with the creeper connected, on the front corner, towards the large poplar trees, was a curious architectural anomaly. The corner of the house was different to any other, different to any I've ever seen on any house. The entire corner, from ground to roof, was built of raw brick, but the bricks were not laid directly on top of each other. They were offset by slightly less than a finger width, sloping very gradually going upward. At the top, just beneath the roof, was an open space, like someone had cut a slice out of that top corner of the house just under the eaves, then removed that top corner, leaving this somewhat rectangular cubbyhole at the top of the sloping bricks, about 2 arm lengths by 1. Can you picture this, right? They're going up very steep. I mean, I should have said not the width of the finger, but the breadth, right? So if you look at the finger crossways like that, that's little less than that is about how much the bricks were offset, right? So there's just enough basically to give a finger and a toe hold on the bricks, right? So when you're looking up at these bricks, it's not quite vertical, but it's not very far from vertical, right? I mean, the top would be offset by maybe 10, 15 degrees, something like that. I mean, it's near vertical, right? It's about as close to vertical as you can go, right? So just to get this image right, I couldn't find a photo of something like that anyway, at least not a nice one.
Or maybe you can use AI to create.
Yeah, maybe. I was try that. All right. About this, so there's this cubbyhole, the sloping bricks and invitation, gently coaxing the adventurous. Be bold, little one, be bold. Rise above your fears and you will be rewarded, they called to me. So I climbed those bricks, this perilous steep climb, using merely fingers and toes. That called to me an exercise in sensibility, capital S, sensibility. If I could be on the first brick, just barely above the ground, and there's no threat of falling off, why would it be any different higher up? It wouldn't. There's no actual risk other than the risk of silliness. The risk of letting ideas, emotions, and maybes get in the way. So I climb some more. I climb higher, heart pounding, looking at only the bricks, one brick by one brick, slightly higher, slightly higher. Now Earth calls me back. It misses me. Earth tells me I'm far away, too far away. It shows me how much it cares by letting me know if I fell, I would be harmed. I am so high. I look down to reassure Earth, and my heart lurches. My stomach churns. Earth is indeed far away, even though I'm not even halfway up yet. But to go back down? No, this is not an option. Not when the promise of sanctuary beckons. It whispers to me, I am here, I am here. Trust your sensibility, little one. Each place on the bricks is the same as any other. High or low, it's all the same. I climb higher. Earth pulls hard at me now, desperately wanting me back. Come down, little one. This is where you belong, where it is safe, where there is no risk. But sanctuary whispers, and where there is no magic. I climb higher still, near the top, almost there. But now a new challenge presents. How to get from the bricks into sanctuary. Earth is screaming now, come back, come back. It's not worth it. What are you doing? This is an unknown. You don't know how. Sanctuary whispers in response. Yes, it is a risk. Yes, there is danger. But if you stop now, will you ever come to this close again? But if you stop now, will you ever come this close again? Will you ever come back and try again? This stops me, empowers me. I know the truth of what sanctuary implies. It's a moment in my life. I can choose to risk now and be free, or I go back and live without power for the rest of my life. I know what sanctuary is whispering is true. I know what sanctuary is really saying. I am choosing adventure or the known, freedom or sanctuary is saying, you are testing yourself. If you fail your own test, how can you ever trust your sensibility again? Will you ever again believe you actually do have courage? Will you know it for sure without having proved it? I know this. I know I knew it when I stood comfortably on that first line of bricks. I know I have no choice really. I know there is no choice really to go back. Going back was never really an option. It's not an option, ever. Not for me, not then, not now. I go forward. I go on. I go up. I climb into heaven. I am home now. I am free. I am alone. I am at peace and I am excited, soaring, my heart yearning with joy, hammering, pounding, racing with exhilarated freedom, repurposed fear and relief. I'm in sanctuary indeed. Where I am is in a slice not out of the house, but out of the world. Time and space are different here in sanctuary, but it is more than sanctuary. It is a place of peace, a place of power. I am refilled, added to. In what way exactly, I cannot say, but I know it is good, supremely good. I feel removed from the regular world into a different kind of world where looking at things is different. I did not know it exactly then, but I have climbed into the abstract. I feel the difference, and it is glorious. Despite this awesomeness, there is the press of the very real reality, the pull of very real gravity. Very real fear is up there with me in sanctuary. I am pressed close into its furthest corner. For what little relief that might give me, inviting sanctuary to hug me as best it can, I am reassured slightly. Eventually moving the eternity of half an arm's length to look down, to look over the edge. I look down. The world swirls, winding and twisting all around me, buffeting me from all sides. It's terrifying. My insides churn in a renewed, much more intense adrenaline surge. Far worse than I expected on the climb up to sanctuary. Fear wants to reclaim me. Vertigo wants to own me. But there's a strange calm to it all. The calm is inside me. It is the calm of reason. How can you fall? It asks. Your ideas cannot physically suck you out of here, can they? No, I acknowledge. They cannot. I am emboldened. I remember my sensibility. The sensibility which brought me here, and I celebrate. This is joy. This is delight. This is bliss. The knowing that I can trust my sensibility, knowing that I do not have to rely on guessing, knowing my sensibility is true. I can know it now. I have tested my sensibility with real risk. I am the proof, being here in my slice of heaven, that my sensibility is sensible. It matters not that fear and calamity are but one body shift away, may as well be an eternity, an infinity. The effect is the same. Degree has no effect on my sensibility. It's powerful knowledge, heady knowledge. Earth now whispers to me. It's happy for my triumph. But Earth is always sensible also. It does not want to see me get lost in myself. It understands the value of my achievement, but also sees the risk of the self not balanced. You still have to come back down again, Earth whispers for a second time. I had heard the first in my euphoria. The reality of my circumstance smacks me back to sensibility. I know now what Earth is telling me. Sanctuary agrees. Trust is one thing, sensibility is one thing, but overconfidence is another. Arrogance and ego are the killers of trust and sensibility. Earth and sanctuary merge into one, as they always were, merely apart temporarily for my benefit. United now, as they will always be. Humility, they whisper fiercely, earnestly. Remember our friend humility. Remember your companion humility. Remember the balance of humility. As I contemplate going back down, I am chastened. A lesson I will not forget, ever. Enjoy your balance, they tell me together. As they laugh and laugh their sublime laugh, the message is profound, a profoundly joyous understanding. They lead me to get back down by myself. I do, remembering my lessons. I trust my reason and my sensibility. If I could come down, I can go down. If I could come up, I can go down. They are the same. My fears are ideas. They have no real power. Despite the physical clumsiness of the task, I carefully get down. I land back on Earth, jumping down from the last few bricks. The joy is immense. I have a renewed connection to Earth. I love Earth dearly, thrilled to be back. Remember this, Earth reminds me. All it takes to renew the magic is a change of perspective. Sanctuary whispers in a confirmation of harmony. I am here whenever you need me. I am here. A sanctuary I would avail myself of many times. Every time, a challenge of spirit. The end. From Young Man's Story, chapter 8.
Wow.
Yes, wow. I really enjoyed that story. I haven't read it for
Oh,
a
yes,
while
me
now.
too.
But I'm like, wow, Syl, you did a good job. That was a well-written story. You know, I was
Yes,
enjoying it from, there's
yes, I was
layered
also.
moreness and surprises. And all right, so daring here, right? So when I saw this challenge, I stood on that first brick because I think I'd got an idea. My brother may have been up there before to even climb up there. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't with me at the time, right? I'm not sure. But nonetheless, I climbed up onto that first brick, holding with my hands and the bricks. I'm literally one brick width away from the ground. The bricks are lying long ways, right? So obviously not very far, but I'm standing there. Right? Now, logically, the bottom of it's the same as the top. Right? If I can be safe here, I remember thinking this at the time. If I'm safe here, it's the same up there, right? This was a very clear, conscious thought. So, in other words, this is doable to climb up there. That's it. It's like, it's doable, right? But when I got to the top, just before actually climbing into the sanctuary, that was awkward. That was, even I'd done it after that, I did it regularly. That was always a very uncomfortable part. I don't know, I struggled with that and it was very risky. And I have some very real acrophobia. right? Like even now when I go on nights, I can do it and it's not a problem. But like there, I got like real super vertigo dizzy. You know, what the typical symptoms of acrophobia is, right? Your world starts spinning and all that. I had it very seriously up there. But when I was at the top and I got to that part where I'm about to climb over, right? And now it's like, it's very awkward because you don't, you know, like climbing up is secure. It's just one to each other. There's no real threat or risk. But when you go over that edge there, you in an unstable, awkward situation. It's not quite fair. I don't know how much the risk really is, but it feels very risky. But when I was there contemplating going further and making that climb into it there, I was there for quite a while. Or at least internally, it was a long time. Externally, I have no idea. But I thought, you've come this far now. Now, if you basically, you know, give up here, you're going to do it because of cowardice, essentially. Right? That's it. And you're never going to come up here again and try again because your body's, you know, that the fear overcame you. You might come back, but that's typically what we do. Once we've done something and we turn away out of fear, you very seldom go back and try it again. Very, very, very seldom, right? Because this is now a belief that it cannot be done because you didn't do it. And you need to say to yourself, it cannot be done. Otherwise, you just, you know, a scaredy pants of, you know, unnecessarily afraid. In other words, a coward. Yes. This is unreasonable, unjustifiable fear is cowardice, right? Unjustifiable fear, right? But therefore, when we are like this in a situation like that, why don't we go back? Because we have to believe that it cannot be done. Then our fear is justifiable and we're not cowardly. See? So we have to be very cautious. We have to understand our inner psychology. Right? Now, I had this awareness back then. Don't ask me how, but I knew that if I don't go, I would feel like a coward, and I wouldn't come back. Plus, I would feel like a coward because I know I did something that was cowardly, and I was not prepared to live with feeling like a coward. I was willing to take that chance. There's a very real risk involved there, right? I'm 5 or 6 years old climbing up this thing. Little children can do a lot more than we give them credit for, by the way. Way, way, way more. Right? You can look up, you know, YouTube videos of little kids climbing on things. It's incredible what they can do. Right? But the point was about the cowardice issue, yes, or feeling this. In other words, I would have cancelled my ability to be daring. So there was, in that moment there, well, first of all, climbing up when I got halfway, yes, I looked down, it's like, right? So there was daring to even start. But when I was on the very bottom step, I didn't have an internal fear, right? But when I got halfway, then I started to feel it. So then proceeding from halfway to the top, that was daring. Then from the top to climb in there, because that transition is so awkward, that was very real daring, particularly since I was really not keen to do it. Yes, but the consequence of not doing it was way worse. I was not willing to live with feeling like a coward, proving to myself that I'm a coward, knowing that I'm a coward. Never mind believing that I'm one, but knowing one, because that's what I was just giving up because of fear, not any logical, sensible reason. There's no reason that I couldn't do that and get in there, right? So this was something I knew that this was. I had to really push myself to do it. I had to really step out of my boundaries. It was a very difficult thing to do. And it was not like just okay, you're doing it. No, that was very, very stressful to do in that moment. No? But I knew if I didn't do this, I would regret it for the rest of my life. Yes, I would live in a cowardly life and never be able to take chances and everything. In other words, I in that time, that moment right there, is when I decided. I didn't have the word daring necessarily, but I knew that this was about, the ability to face fear, right? I knew that I would not have that ability to face and overcome fear, and I was not prepared to do that. Not prepared to do that. So it's a very big deal, right? And of course, doing that lets me know, yes, you can be daring, and the rewards of daring are profound. But this is the point that we started on. We said that there is a risk of doing. Yes, the risk of doing this, that I could possibly fall. Yes. And that would have been a very serious fall. Those, I don't know how high the house was. It was, the roof was at that part of the house was a little higher than a typical roof house. Right? I mean, the typical roof house, the end of the roof, you know, it's, I don't know, like 8 feet, maybe sometimes 10 feet, somewhere around there, you know, where the roof slopes down that you can touch the edge of the roof. You know, if you jump high enough, you can touch it. Some are higher, 14 feet, maybe something like this. But this, I think, is quite a bit more than that, because if I think, you know, at that age, how tall are you? 3, 4 feet? You know, that height was probably about, quite say 10 times, 6, 7 times my height. So, you know, 20 feet, 30 feet, maybe something like that. It was definitely a little higher than average. But, you know, that's a serious fall. May even, you know, get killed. But yeah, dying is less of a fear than getting seriously hurt, by the way. At least for me. You die, oh, okay, you're dead. You're not going to feel anything. When you get seriously hurt, you're going to feel that, right? Yeah. so I was aware of this, that this is a serious issue. But the risk of not doing is the risk of living with fear being a barrier. That's a much, much worse risk than falling. If I fall and hurt, I don't want this. It's under normal circumstances, not the risk that I would want to take. But when opposed to the risk of not taking that risk, man, that's a very serious thing. That's almost a guarantee that you're going to be live with fear as a pressure on. Yes, and you're going to live with knowing that you could have, but you didn't, that you crapped out. So it's not just that you're going to live with fear, but you're going to live with lack of confidence either. You're going to live with lack of self-trust as well. Yes, you're not going to trust your sensibility. The consequences of me not making that last climb over there and finishing that, massively profound consequences. Now, I don't know how many others have such choices in their lives. I feel we all probably come to such choices, and those choices really determine us. Now, does it mean we can't go back and do it? Yes, it means we can. And are we likely to? No. But do we need to? If we didn't make the correct choice at the time, or the appropriate choice, right, and we become aware of this, then go back and do something about it, or just find some similar situation, make that choice. Push yourself. Push yourself. This is critical. Unless you want to live, you know, being fearful, lacking confidence, being insecure, etc., etc., etc. Right? It was a massively profound decision. Now, I wrote it in this storytell way because that's kind of how it came out, because I wanted to give an expression. There was more going on there, right? So I made it a little bit poetic, and which is kind of fun, and add some moreness, and it makes for wonderful writing. Brilliant. Hello, Norma. Hello. Norma, I think that I need to change this view to, oh, it is on gallery. It's not showing my picture in the video because I'm on the phone talking. Brilliant. Hi, Christopher. Thank you, man. Thank you. Great day. You too, man. You too. I'm on Zoom, but I'm doing Facebook Live, actually. Oh, yeah. So you get to be on live. Yeah. Everybody, Christopher says hi with a great, big, wonderful smile. Thank you, Christopher.
Hello,
Thank you,
Christopher.
And the live says hello back to you. He's gone already. He can't wait long. He has to go. But anyway, it was wonderful. He said, big eye, big smile. Wonderful. Yes, I'm back. I'm trying to get my video to work, and I'm not sure why it isn't. To show, I can see the video, but it's not showing in the video. Or did this stop already? Why is this not playing yet? Is my video showing in the live for you, Beena?
Nope. No.
No, not on Zoom. On Zoom you can see it, but not in the live, right?
Oh.
In the live it just says Beena Sidd. Yeah. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. That's what I wanted. I clicked on it accidentally and it was paused. So, all right, all good then. All right. Okay, so you were seeing it. This wasn't me that was seeing it. Brilliant. All right, so this is a fun story and a very powerful story. Now, why I chose specifically to do that, I can't take credit for that experience. Somebody say, "Oh, that was fantastic." Who knows what made me want to do that? Who knows that I had those thoughts? I have no idea. It just is what it is. Right? Okay. I will say that, for me, that it was very unpleasant climbing that last step there. Very unpleasant. But every time I went up, it was very unpleasant and very awkward. Yeah. But and that maybe I can take a bit of credit for. But do I really? Because I knew that the alternative was so much worse. So in that situation, my thinking it through to the end, right there on the top of those bricks, I thought it all the way through. Yes, I didn't even have this understanding of thinking it all the way through, but I did. Right? Who knows? I think I carried it over from somewhere else. That's my only logic that makes sense to me. But anyway, I did. Right? But where's the choice for me in that moment? It was my choice to do something unpleasant. It was profoundly unpleasant. It was very, very horrible to do. But was it really a choice that I couldn't make? No, it wasn't. And I think in that moment, when we choose to do things that are unpleasant, because we have no choice to do them, yes, we're not put off by the unpleasantness because our reason and our logic tells us that the alternative is worse, much, 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 much worse. Yes, I'm risking a few moments of unpleasantness and risk for a whole lifetime of unpleasantness. Yeah, living in anxiety and fear and insecurity and lack of confidence, etc. No, 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 not so, not so, not so. Couldn't do it, couldn't do it. So really, in that moment, was there a decision? Not really. Yes, there is one, but not really. And this is the magic of the universe. It puts us into the situation in many times. I've been in this time many times where I had a choice, but it's not really a choice. Did I have a choice to go back in the desert? Yes, I was offered that choice dozens and dozens of times, every time. But was it really a choice I could make? No, it's not a choice. No. Like now, I continually am pushing the boundaries of learning and growing. I can stop and, just live ordinary. No, it's a choice, but it's not really a choice. Yes. So glad you're back, Norma. Glad you're back. Yeah, did you hear the story, Norma? Norma, did you hear me read the story, the corner of heaven story? I hope so. I really hope so. See, Beena, this is in the young man's story, but at some point, things I want to do. I want to publish that story, but I also want to publish, there's many little stories inside the bigger story that were written as standalone stories, and I'd like to publish those. I know, just because there's no real reason for it other than I think this is a cool story, and I'd like to share it. I'd like to publish it because I'd like to share it. I mean, I enjoy that story. I feel proud of that story. I feel that story is well written, right? Needs a little bit of editing, little tiny bit of editing, but it's not a problem.
It is.
Yeah. I was quite impressed when I read it now. So a bit of dyslexia there. It's that sentence reads, it's an of owning it, and an owning of ourselves. It must read, it's an owning of it and an owning of ourselves. So the of is out of sequence there. A bit of dyslexia. Easily remedied. Easily remedied. It's an owning of it and an owning of ourselves. Most powerful. Most powerful indeed. Yes. Yes. I like stories that, like the origin story, that you get unexpected moreness that doesn't need to be there, but it's there anyway. Yes. Yeah. Right, Beena? Beena, where'd you go?
Sorry, I
muted?
was on mute. Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay. I was saying I like stories where I get unexpected moreness. That doesn't need to be there. That's just complete bonus and surprising. Yes.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
fine.
I mean, the story could be written more simply just about the daring aspect, but there was more to it too. It's also about the connection to the abstract, the connection to Earth, and how attunement and how the universe speaks to us. Yes, I personified it here in the sense, yeah, in Earth and heaven, or the corner of heaven. Right, this or sanctuary, sanctuary on Earth, not heaven, sanctuary. I called it the corner of heaven, but sanctuary. Yeah, this is a very big deal. Yeah, and then humility comes into it, and confidence, and all sorts of things, and all of this, harmony, balance, capital B, balance, right? Yeah, don't be overconfident with this. That's also the other part of it, right? So there's just many, many, many bonuses involved, and I like that. That's very cool. Any comments, Norma? Any comments before we go? I want to leave it there today. Our theme has been daring, and this story really represents the very real points of daring, And that acrophobia, which I had all the full total symptoms of acrophobia, it never affected me in my life. I can go up on a high building and look over. Yes, my stomach turns somersaults when I turn over, look over the edge on high up places, like the edge of a cliff or whatever. And I do it deliberately. I'll go and walk and look over, feeling horrible, and do it because, again, it's the triumph of sensibility, sobriety over the body. The body has its own agenda. Yes, some bodies are more afraid and more scarified of things than others, right? Whatever it may be. In this case, heights for me. But I've never had where I said, oh, I've got the fear of heights. Never said that in my life. My body has it, yes. Me, no. So I go up on high places, even though it's uncomfortable. It's not a problem. Yeah. Because I was able to do it then. I can do it again. So it was a very consequential thing, right? Never affected me. But of course, it's not only about heights. It's about overcoming fear itself, which is what leads to capital B practice. We don't do things because of fear. But when you learn to be able to go through that uncomfortable period, it very quickly becomes a non-issue. And then it's simple, right? It's amazing, amazing, amazing. As I went there repeatedly, I got more comfortable being up there. It wasn't quite as severely acrophobic as it was that first time. And I climbed the trees, but the trees, I never had acrophobia in the trees. I was telling you, I climbed the very popular trees, the round ones, not the tall ones, the tall, thin ones, the round, big popular trees. I climbed to the very top. Okay, I could put my head out. I couldn't quite go there, but I could reach with my arm to the very top of the tree. It's a great accomplishment for me. But I never felt fear of heights there because, I don't know, there's a lot of trees and branches and things in the way. So it was never an issue. I love climbing trees. It's great. And I, again, climbed on the roof a lot too. And sometimes I'd feel that fear up on the roofs, but generally not. Yeah. I enjoyed climbing up on the roofs when I got the chance. Anyway, it's a fun story that has consequence to it, right? So we need to pay attention to consequence and implication. And that's what happened at the time. That whole story was about consequence and implication, and the triumph of our rationality and our reason over our fears and our unnecessary emotions, right? Just because I feel something doesn't make it valid. Yes. Fear is very handy. You need to have caution going up in things, but sometimes you need to be able to say, yes, there is risk here. I just need to be careful, and then the risk is minimized. The only risk really is of me being careless. If I wasn't careless, there's actually no risk, correct? The risk of not paying attention. Right, Beena? Technically.
Yes.
Right? If I can stand on the first step, I can stand on the second one. Okay, that climb over into heaven, that was now, I couldn't know that from when I started. But if I'm at the top or at the bottom, it's the same amount of difficulty. It's no different, right? The risk doesn't actually change of me slipping off on the bottom brick than on the top brick. Same amount of risk, correct? The consequence is different, yes, but the actual risk of slipping is exactly the same, correct?
Yes.
The consequence is different, the risk the same. I was able to assess that, make that understanding then. But this is sobriety, this is sensibility, this is rationality. Yes, when we can act according to those, we are operating from a different brain. We have the primitive brain and we have our rational brain. And I find regularly in my life that I say, but why am I doing this? My primitive brain is, getting me to do things, and this is just madness. Our primitive brains are totally mad. Right? They don't make much sense, right? It's like they're not very logical, not very sensible, which is the definition of madness in that sense, right? So we have to be very, very understanding of this, that we are not one. We like to think as we by implication we one. No, I am a collection of all sorts of different things, different aspects, different brains, literally, the body has its own agenda. I'm lots of things. And I need to learn to deal with them. Yes. And this ability to have rationality and sensibility and be the primary, very important. Otherwise, we can so easily be unnecessarily foolish and fearful and not do things that we would otherwise do. For instance, in that case, there was physical risk. That's different. But that same thing of not taking risk and going to fear comes to when it's simply an abstract fear, like the fear of looking bad, right? Where's the real harm to you? There's no physical harm going to come to you. Nothing really going to matter except your ego. It's completely imaginary harm. But that not wanting to risk imaginary harm, it limits people's lives like crazy. Just look around you. Just look around you at how many people are unable to do because they don't want to be that little bit daring, not even a lot, little bit daring to take a risk that their ego, their image, etc. But come on, seriously? Yeah, no real risk. And yet their lives are on you and they lose out. Like I said, with relationships, they don't want to make that risk of looking bad, getting rejected, and they don't end up in a relationship. Or they're so fearful, they're so timid that it's like, man, who wants to be in a relationship with a timid, fearful person? Nobody, right? So you actually lessen your chances of success through this fearfulness and this timidity, right? It becomes a self-proving thing in itself, in essence, yes? It's quite fascinating. It's quite fascinating. And all for nothing. When we learn that and we learn to have daring, I remember as a boy, this was a big issue. This was a very big issue. I started having girlfriends at age 10. And it was never an easy issue. It was a big deal because I had that mindset. I learned to get rid of it eventually, but still it was an issue, right? At some point when I was young. So I learned, but still. So I'm aware of it, acutely aware of what's involved. I'm not just speculating here, right? It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. But when you look back, you say, "Oh my gosh, it's foolishness, totally unnecessary." I caused so much stress and trouble. But it's also, if I'd had the daring then, I would have been in just. I think my life would have been consumed with being in relationships, and it's a whole different life that you live. If you can easily get into relationships and easily leave a relationship, you end up in a different type of a life, right? Where that becomes the primary. And so I was saved from that, even though some part of me wanted it, but the part of me that wanted moreness and spirituality, that was a stronger part. So that fortunately won out in the end. I didn't end up a libertine, in other words. I could easily have ended up to be a libertine. If you're not sure what the word libertine means, go look it up. I was saved by myself from being a libertine. Yeah. My foolishness saved me, in a sense. It was good foolishness. Yeah. There was a deeper sobriety to it as well. But we have to understand this, that we have conflicting motivations. And it's very important to be able to be aware of that. Very, very critical. We can maybe talk about conflicting motivations more tomorrow. Any questions, any comments, any takeaways, Beena? I was asking if you have any questions or comments or takeaways.
Oh, it was first, yes, yes, I am. About stories, because it's a very powerful story. Because not only that that it is connecting to the abstract, in many ways it is connecting to abstract and giving us such profound insights and awareness, but also how it connects to the local, like really in the moment. In those moments, I feel that that is the biggest awareness right there. Because when you were sharing that story, how you were feeling, how you were perceiving, how you were seeing at things and feeling them
Yeah.
is grabbing attention and feelings also. Like you feel that, okay, so yes, this is what was going on. And we see that how much all caps more happens in just tiny, minute, brief moments.
Yes. To unpack
And
those moments to get the full moreness, this is the point.
This also proves that awareness proves and actually project and reflect that it is beyond the limitations of time. If you start having, if luckily or by your effort, whatever way, if awareness doors opens up to you, for you, then you don't need this time limitation and restriction, or the connectivity with the time becomes all false and irrelevant for us, because we can get so much. I mean, like really so much in just tiny moment. So what actually we are doing, we are defying all the rules of time right there. And universe proving us that it is just very contextual. Time's perception is very but subjective, and that is what I was getting from this story. It happens, yes, it also happening with me, because I'm learning how to extract value from every moment, or at least some special moments, and it is happening, but not in as detail as possible right now when I was listening to this story. For me, the biggest takeaway, other than all other expected takeaways, the unexpected takeaway is that it shows me that we can defy, we can actually negate, and we can go beyond the limitations of time and our own capacity.
Yes.
And by this, we can by awareness, we can actually go beyond any limit and restriction. This is so huge for me. This is so huge.
Exactly. That's a very profound point you make, Beena. Also, something that I mentioned in previous readings of this, that this, if I had not been daring, yes, the consequences was that my integrity would have been fractured, broken, stressed. Yes, it was a point of integrity to continue to make that last final step. Yes, my integrity would have been compromised had I not done that. Yeah. And if you have compromised integrity, it's like a leaky boat. You're going to sink eventually. Cannot compromise on your integrity. Yes, we need to have our integrity intact. And that was the issue. My integrity would not allow me to go back down and not overcome that fear. Yeah. The fear of that final climb in there. That was the real awkwardness, because there's a point where you don't have security. You're kind of in no man's land, right? Very awkward. Right? So it's a point of integrity. I just want to emphasize that. It's a very big deal. Yes. You understand what I mean with the integrity point, Beena?
More about it.
All right. So in that moment where I got to the top, yes, and okay, I'm there, it's kind of safe and secure. But now I have to let go of the safety and security of holding on, clinging with my thing. When I look down, okay, it's awkward, but when I'm just clinging on, okay, I'm safe and secure. It's not a problem. I have to let go of that and enter into sort of a no man's land period as you climb over, and then you're sitting inside. Now you're kind of safe and secure again because you're in movement. You don't have a firm grip. It's awkward. You've got nowhere to hold on to because, you know, your hand is flat on it. There's no holding. There was no handhold there that I could pull myself with, right? So it's just awkward and uncomfortable. And I debated doing this because I, you know, tried it and, oh no, this is difficult, right? And this is fearful, this is stressful. And I was aware in that moment that if I don't do it, I'm simply doing it out of fear, not out of logic or rationality or sensibility. So where's the integrity? Where's the integrity of acting out of fear and fear alone? This is just crappiness. This is just cowardice. This is just silliness. This is just foolishness, right? If I hold myself up to have integrity, and our integrity comes from my sobriety, from my sensibility, in other words, and from my ability to do what's right. Yes, that was the right thing to do it out of fear or not do it out of fear and fear alone. This is just right. It would compromise my integrity. Would not have had integrity. Would have been fractured. I would have had to go back and do it in order to repair that hole in my integrity. Yes. Make sense?
Yes. It does.
Very big deal. Very big deal. So daring, in other words, is very directly connected to or can be very directly connected to our integrity. Right? Sometimes our integrity demands that we be daring. Like in that case. Yes. My integrity demanded. Make sense, Beena?
Yes.
All right. On that note, I think we shall end. Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's very potent. It's very powerful. I hope you enjoyed, Norma. I hope you heard the story. If not, listen to the replay. I'm very keen for you to hear that story, Norma. It's a very beautiful story, right, Norma? Am I right, Beena?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. See you all tomorrow.
Okay, everyone. Thank you. Whoever is listening, was listening, and will listen
Yes.
to and watch this
Yes.
video. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Syl, for sharing such a wonderful story. And
Oh,
and
great.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Way-of-Impeccability. Because of
Yeah.
you, we can extract so much value out of it.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
yes, I know that it sounds like, okay, I'm praising it all the time, always.
We have to.
I'm not doing it for any other reason, but just to make the obvious really obvious for myself. I
Appreciation.
do it deliberately because I want to extract
Yeah.
more value in every single moment. Whatever I am doing and whatever I'm going to do in my life, I just want to keep reminding myself, keep reminding it that I got the value, I am getting value, and I will get a value. This
Exactly.
is what I just want to remind myself. Once we
Exactly.
start acknowledging the moreness, the awareness we get from others, other sources, other things, once we start acknowledging and appreciating and celebrating it, no one, I'm just saying that, and no one in this world can stop the moreness to come in our life. No one can do this.
Exactly. Exactly.
It is going to happen without any doubt. The acknowledgement is so huge for me. I always say that. It is not to appreciate anyone in my life. It is to appreciate my ability that I pursue that. I persist. I insist and I keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm appreciating myself. But most important, I do appreciate things because I want to keep it always fresh in the forefront of my consciousness. This is valuable. This is what on the top most priority in my life.
Exactly.
By acknowledging, by appreciating, by celebrating, we set our priorities every single time, not only for us, but to also make it obvious for the universe that, okay, this is what is important always in my life. This is what I want more in my life.
Yeah.
And that's why acknowledgement, appreciation, and acceptance is so huge. It's a profound
Yeah.
mechanism. This is also, it is the base of that law of attraction and assumption, where we put our attention, our focused attention, energy flows. And that thing, where the energy flows, that thing, that perception, that person, bloom. They become more and more and more.
Yes.
That's why I'm always appreciative. I try to be, of course, I'm just trying. I wish I can be
You
more.
are. You
I'm
are,
always
you are.
appreciative. And I want to be appreciative all the time
Yes.
for everyone. Thank you so much, Norma. Thank you, everyone who
Yes.
were part of this and who will become part of it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Syl, and bye. And bye, Crane, also.
Bye bye, everybody. See you tomorrow. And meeting.